Since the Russian invasion 2 weeks ago, I've been wondering, how do you cover the war in Ukraine from a TV industry perspective on TellyCast? It seems somehow inappropriate just to carry on the show as usual without fully acknowledging the world-changing events happening in Eastern Europe right now and how they're affecting the people in our industry. And last week, one of our previous guests on the show, Lionsgate executive Marc Lorber, shared a LinkedIn post from Kateryna Vyshnevska, head of development and co-productions for Ukraine's Film UA Group, one of the largest Eastern European TV and film producers. And that led me to try and contact her. So this week's show is just one interview, one discussion with a TV executive who's caught up right in the middle of this catastrophe. Kateryna is currently in Kyiv, where she's sheltering with her family as the Russian troops advance on the city. We recorded this interview on Sunday, the 6th of March, and I wanted to get this show out as soon as possible due to the fast-moving nature of what's happening in the city. Kateryna, thank you so much for joining me, and I really appreciate. We might have to stop this chat if we get any air raid sirens or any interruptions. But first of all, I know you're usually based in London, but tell us how you come to be in Kyiv right now.
At some point, I think it was obvious that the war is going to happen. There's this saying that if there's a gun on the stage, it's gotta fire. So I guess, I don't know, I just knew that this is going to happen and I would rather be here. And so I just flew over, and I can't really claim any specific bravery or anything, because in a way I was planning to go back to Kyiv because since my head office is in Ukraine, I go back and forth in regular and peaceful times quite regularly. So I just flew back again, just being aware that this is something that might happen. And I'd rather be in Ukraine than outside of Ukraine. So there's that, yeah.
Okay. Explain to us, if you can, how you are right now and your family, and how life has changed for you in the past couple of weeks.
Yeah. Where do I begin? So I feel like now I'm okay, more or less, or at least, well, the war started on Thursday morning, and I think a day for this new kind of reality to sink in. So basically, my sister and brother-in-law basically forced me to go and join them, hiding in the underground station in the shelter there. So we spent 3 nights and almost 4 days there. And then it was Monday, and they unsealed the shelter because it was sealed for a few days because of the heavy shelling and bombing in Kyiv. And then we got out, and I think at that stage, there are stages and there are degrees of how bad it gets even during this new reality. So it is so bad being there in the underground station, because basically you sleep on the floor, it's cold stone floor, you're deep underground, so it's cold, you're sealed off, you are with these people where you kind of go through stages of Lord of the Flies, really. Just people start panicking and behaving irrationally, and we were behaving irrationally as well. So we kind of made a decision that we'd rather be less safe, but just physically, it's unbearable being there. And I know the people and families and kids and old people who made the decision to stay there. It's taking a huge toll on them. We chose to go back to my sister's place, and when there's an air raid, and when we hear the siren, we go downstairs to the basement. And then at some stage, you kind of, I don't know, but humor really saves the situation. So we're trying to laugh at it because it is basically a survival technique. So by now we kind of, we evaluate how threatening this particular air raid sounds, and if we can hear explosions, coming from which side of the city. So if it's not too bad, then we would just stay in the corridor, because it's between, by now we also know all these instructions how to behave when you're being shelled, for instance. So if the danger degree is not too bad, let's say it's like orange rather than red, then we would stay within the building between the walls. If it's getting worse, then we would go downstairs to the basement and all that, and you start looking around your flat. And there were a lot this Lorber helps us through, because you start looking around, and everything you see in your flat, you assess it as potential danger. Like, for instance, a pipe running across the wall. Is it water pipe? Is it gas pipe? Are you gonna get blasted by gas, or is it gonna be hot water? And things like that. And I try to go out every day, because we're also trying to help people who are less fortunate than us, older people, lonely people, etc. But also just kind of not to be scared. It's important to be not all the time cornered. You kind of need to feel that you have that you have at least some control over life. And there's less and less food in the shops. But by now you kind of get really happy if you come across, like today I bought eggs, and this made me really happy, because basically we have no idea when is the next time when we're gonna have fresh milk or eggs or anything. You just reassess a lot of things.
I can only imagine. I mean, can you describe what normal life is outside? You say you're trying to get out most days. What is the feeling on the streets, and how are people coping on a daily basis? You say that obviously there's certain uncertainty about what's available in the shops and what have you, but what is the mood with the people right now? And we're speaking on Sunday. Can you gauge the mood of the people?
There's very few people in the streets, so because a lot of people have left the city. Many people are staying in as much as possible, and that's the recommendation from the Ministry of Defense as well. Where you do see concentration of people is pharmacies and shops. Overall, the mood right now, it is hopeful, it is heroic. I would even go as far as say that. Basically, everyone right now is saying that everyone in Ukraine is either a warrior or a volunteer, and I 100% agree with that. Everyone I know, my friends, colleagues, myself, we're trying to, and it's kind of like by now it's random really, because you leave your number in some volunteer groups online, and then someone just calls you. And like today, we were trying to get some medicine to old people who live pretty far, and they need some specific heart medicine, which means that you kind of need to queue to a lot of different pharmacies, the ones that are open, and then also arrange how to get the medicine across. Friends and people who don't know each other cooperate and coordinate. So I think that's been very, I'm so proud of what my people are doing right now. It's incredible. And I'm just, I think there's also awareness. I don't know, maybe because I'm used to always thinking logically. So, and kind of trying to see beyond today and be strategic. So what I'm really scared of right now is that it's stages. It's like stages of grief. So now everyone is a bit elated and feeling proud. But the reality is that this is going to be very long term. It's a marathon. And I hope that people don't lose hope, and that they can... people don't get tired too quickly of all this. That's, that we stay as hopeful and proud and in a fighting mode.
Well, from my perspective, and I'm sure I'm speaking for all our listeners, everybody's looking at Ukraine and incredibly, impressed with the bravery of people and what you're all going through. So it's still quite unbelievable for us all, but it's incredibly brave what you're doing. In terms of evacuations and getting out of Kiev, is that an option for you right now? I mean, you've obviously made a decision to stay, and can you give us any idea of the numbers? The numbers of people that are staying. Has most of the city stayed? Do you feel in place in Kyiv?
I can't speak for that. It's really difficult to assess. I know that a lot of people are leaving, and we've been taking quite a lot of parents or friends of mine who live outside of Ukraine by now. So we've been taking a lot of people to the train station. There's a lot of people trying to leave. And thank God, at least in Kyiv, because the situation is different in Mariupol or Nikolaev, for instance, or other places in Ukraine. In Kyiv, the trains are running as normal. So there's regular trains, and there's a lot of evacuation trains that are taking people out of the war zone, basically. But they are full. They are quite often like the regular, they are at 200% capacity, every single train. So a lot of people are standing. So a lot of people are leaving. I made a decision to stay because for a reason that I can't go into, my family can't leave. So I'm staying with them. And so we are staying. A lot of people left. But also men are not allowed to leave. So for everyone who is within the enlisting age, they have to stay. And they're staying and joining territorial defenses or army. Yeah.
We know there's been various media blackouts in Ukraine, and we saw terrible scenes of the TV tower being shelled a few days ago. And we also know that the reality of what's happening is not being reported in Russia, and lots of big news organizations have ceased operations there at the moment. Can you still access TV now? And are you just getting your information from the internet? Is news still being broadcast to the people in Ukraine?
I haven't clicked on TV in my normal life, almost want to say, well, never basically. So we haven't checked. But online, everything is available, and we actually don't have media blackout. I mean, I am speaking for a very specific trait of society. So probably older people who only watch TV, they are in a much different situation. But TV has been broadcasting as normal because there's a way now. You don't necessarily, it's not just terrestrial TV. There are other options to make the signal available. In terms of where the kind of younger or middle-aged people are, we are really well connected to what's happening. It actually makes me laugh because a lot of friends from abroad keep on sending articles from CNN or BBC or whatever. And for us, it's like, yeah, we know. It's been this a long time ago. We use Telegram, which is huge. It's kind of like WhatsApp or Signal, but it does have this additional capability. It's called Telegram channel, which is basically just sign up to that. And it's almost like, like in older times on news websites, there would be this a feed where news would be appearing all the time. So Telegram is like that. So it's actually very, very up to date. There's some of the information there is either fake or just not confirmed or kind of, you wish this was the case, but it's not kind of thing. But by cross-checking various Telegram channels, you kind of learn to figure out what's true, what's not. I would say we actually do have quite a good grasp of reality as much as it's possible during the wartime, because the reality is that, like, for instance, my mom, she's in Mariupol, and I haven't been able to reach her by any means possible since Wednesday. I can but hope, but in Mariupol, there is no electricity, no water, no heating, no internet, no mobile reception. It's been bombed completely. So even no news not enough news are coming from Mariupol because there's not enough, physically it is impossible. It's not about us not having access to the information. It's about the fact that CNN has airlifted their war journalists from there. It's just, it's a war zone.
Yeah, it's too dangerous, and the infrastructure is broken down, essentially.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, and does that, I mean, it must, if I can, even for a second, put myself in your situation, knowing what's happening in some of these other cities, like you mentioned Mariupol and one or two others, does that make you fear more for your own safety, as presumably the Russian army is coming closer to Kyiv and potentially surrounding it? I mean, how does that make you feel? I mean, knowing what's going on elsewhere in the country, and is it? I mean, it must be terrible feeling to see everything else going on.
I think so. Everyone is different, and everyone's reaction to this kind of danger is different. And there is no right way to react. My personal reaction is I'm so angry. It really helps me to not be scared. I feel like I want to swear, but I'm gonna, whatever is needed, I will do it. I'm not scared. The closer they are, the angrier I get. But there is also the reality of our body just reacting to danger. So every time when there's an explosion close enough, your rational brain has no chance to react before your irrational or whatever, your snake brain kicks in. And then, you just feel like adrenaline shoots up and you are scared, but this is like body reacting. And then when at some point you come down and think through it, you become operational again. But it's kind of body reacts to danger. That's for sure. That you can't really control. You just kind of need to remind yourself that this is a momentary reaction, that you breathe in, you breathe out one step at a time. This will pass, and then you can think again and you can do what's right.
Obviously, we've seen your president, who's been incredibly impressive all the way through this. What do you think about the requests for NATO to instigate a no-fly zone? Is that something that you're hoping for, or do you think that that's not realistic after the responses that we've heard from various NATO leaders over the last few days, that that's never going to happen? I mean, is that something that you clearly still you still want to see?
This is the one thing right now that could end this war right now. And if there's whoever is listening, if you can lobby for this will stop the war. We know that it's not. And the thing is, it makes me so angry because we have also lived through that as well. It's kind of like thinking of how the Allies were trying to get America join World War II, and they were saying no for so many political reasons, and then they did join. This is going to happen now again. I truly believe that. It's just that. Do we really have to wait until many more thousands die? This is the one thing that can end the war now. Because Russia, the statistics is available. You can go to BBC or the Guardian website and see how many forces Russia has. And they have, I think, like around 4 or 5 times the size of the air force that Ukraine does. And even so, they have not been able to dominate the skies. So if NATO flies over, creates no-fly zone over Russia, it's mathematics. They cannot even win over Ukrainian Air Force. If we have air support from NATO, they will have to retreat. I'm not a not a military strategist or whatever, but I keep track of what's happening, and there's plenty of YouTube channels and a lot of military task forces talking about this. So this is a tangible way to finish the war.
I've got a real sense of helplessness watching this unfold. It's it's terrible. Everybody's clearly glued to BBC and whatever other news channels and just praying that this is something, that there's some way that this situation can be solved. And obviously, that is the one that many Ukrainian people are asking for. It seems to me that it's, that Western leaders just are too scared of triggering a wider conflict.
Yeah, but the Western leaders have access to military intelligence. And the military intelligence that up to this point has actually been very reliable. The American military intelligence, they told specifically when the offensive is going to start. They do have this information. They have, even we have access as, you can Google the position of the Russian tasks from the air. So they have enough military intelligence to know how much air force Putin has left. That information is sufficient to know that Putin cannot engage in a war with more than just Ukraine. This is just bureaucracy over human lives. And speaking of which, why is it okay? It's kind of like you already stepped with your left foot. Then why don't you also move your right foot there? Because countries who are members of NATO are already sending weapons to us. So technically speaking, this no engagement stance, it's already broken.
It is that feeling of helplessness that I think we all have looking in and seeing how incredibly brave the Ukrainian people are. Just for a second, I mean, this is going to sound slightly absurd, really, because obviously TellyCast is a TV industry podcast, and we're here talking about life and death and your situation in Kyiv right now. But considering for a second the international TV business community, how can we help the Ukrainian TV industry? Because presumably it's going to need a lot of rebuilding, and other than the news channels we spoke about earlier, then obviously there's all of that commerce is no doubt ground to a halt. How can we help the Ukrainian TV industry right now and rebuild itself in the coming months? Hopefully this conflict will be over soon, but how can we help going forward?
Yeah, there's an easy answer to that. Well, first of all of us, all of you need to help Ukraine, because if there's no Ukraine left, there's no media industry left in there either. And this is happening. I also have to thank a lot of partners of ours who have been incredibly supportive over this horrible 10, counting into 11 days of war. But that money that we're getting in terms of donations is now going directly toward war relief and humanitarian aid. But once we win, and we will, what would really help is just basically just work with us. No one is talking about immediately coming into the bombed Ukraine and trying to film there. But having said that, as a side note, I know it's kind of, it's one of those things that we kind of try to laugh at to make the burden lighter at the moment. But imagine if Disney had a set built somewhere on the border with Russia, and if by any chance a Russian shell fell on it. I mean, Disney is bigger than quite a lot of GDPs of many countries out there. This is possibly not a war Putin would want to wage, but this, joking aside, just kind of please acquire Ukrainian content. Please co-produce with us, because we simply don't have the budgets any longer to produce 100% original content. Please hire our people in terms of, there's a lot of things that can still be done, remotely. I'm talking of post-production, VFX, animation. Yes, and some of the facilities will be bombed, but hopefully they will be rebuilt. But for now, a lot of them are standing. Sound design, all of the things that can be done remotely, that will help.
Now, Film UA Group, your company, are you capturing footage of what's actually happening? Are you actively filming from a documentary perspective anywhere at the moment, or is it just a case of the company's on ice until it can be a much safer situation?
We can't really we've never done documentaries, so we don't really, let's say we haven't, this is not our core strength. We are the scripted people. What we're doing is we've organized a shelter at the studios. So last time I checked, it was close to 100 people that were sheltering there, and we are feeding them because we have the our own catering company and the facilities, etc. We have given all of our walkie-talkies, drones, whatever else is needed in terms of equipment to the army. A lot of people have enlisted either real army or the territorial forces. And then what we're doing on the content front, we are cooperating with all the buyers that we know. So first of all, we have given a lot of our contents for free to broadcasters across the world. And this is also something that I'm addressing your listeners right now. This is something that you can help us with. So the goal of that is Putin is actively trying to destroy not just Ukraine, but Ukrainian culture. So we are asking broadcasters around the globe to broadcast some of this kind of, it's like short videos showcasing the beauty of Ukrainian culture, traditions, etc. So this is one way to help. Then we're also selling our content and, just very simple paperwork, because basically you buy content from us, you choose which charity you want to transfer the license fee to, and the license fee goes directly to the charity, Red Cross, Ukraine, Come Back Alive, etc. And we're also, because filming is dangerous, we can't send our people unless we want to go on their own to go and film something. We are doing a lot of content. If you sign up to Film UA group on Facebook or for Instagram, etc., you would see we edit videos based on this user-generated footage that we're getting. So we kind of create stories. We have recorded a lot of all the actors, all the celebrities that we work with in Ukraine. We have also made videos of them addressing people in Ukraine, but also in Russia. We reached out to quite a lot of Russian actors because a lot of Russian actors were working in Ukraine even during all these past years. Well, 3 of them said, yes, we can actually post something. Everyone else, I guess they were just taking Ukrainian money. Everyone is silent.
We'll put some links, and it was actually through Marc Lorber's post on LinkedIn that I got in touch with you. So, and he's put some links on there, and I'll repost these and put those links in into the episode description, so everyone can go and have a look at those and see what content there is, and hopefully license those. And as you say, it'd be a little step forward to keeping the Ukrainian culture alive and basically reinforcing that, because we realize that Russia doesn't really recognize Ukraine as a country and is seeking to rub out a lot of that, essentially, a lot of that culture.
Yeah, that would be really helpful. Thank you.
Okay. Kateryna, I've already taken up too much of your time. Thank you so much. We're all thinking about you and your colleagues and everybody else in Kyiv and in Ukraine who are suffering at the moment. And it's quite unbelievable that it's happening, actually. But we just want you to stay safe, and we hope we can see you in person very soon, and hope for better days very soon. But we're just so full of admiration for what you and your countrymen are doing at the moment. So we're all thinking about you, and we just want you to stay safe.
Thank you. And I also want to thank you specifically and TellyCast and the whole media people who have been so supportive, and just all the people in general. And we know that every world is Ukrainian now, and we know that we already won this war. We just hope that we don't lose more lives than necessary.
Absolutely, thank you. Maybe we'll get the opportunity to speak again in a little while, Kateryna, and keep us up to date with what's happening and how you're coping.
Thank you.